waves of mighty battle intent surged into the heavens. Here, 3 top-tier forces stood alongside a dozen first-rate forces. Together, their combined armies numbered in the hundreds of thousands, making for a truly majestic and awe-inspiring sight. "Are you all ready?" Zhang Lu Li's gentle voice once again rang out, drowning the chaotic sounds around them and drawing countless gazes. The forces all cupped their fists toward the mountain peak, where Zhang Lu Li stood, signaling their readiness. "Since all is ready, let us begin." The outer army of the Four Spirits army may not be as elite as the inner army, but their numbers are vast. Fortunately, they have now decayed, and their battle intent is less than half of what it once was. As long as you follow my command, I can guarantee that your losses will be minimized. Zhang Lu Li's calm voice was filled with confidence. The various forces hesitated for a moment, but nodded in agreement. If Zhang Lu Li could truly help them minimize their losses while fighting this decaying army, they would proceed. If it turned out she simply intended to use them as cannon fodder, they could always retreat and break the alliance. Zhang Lu Li likely wouldn't dare to play such a dangerous game. Chen and the Mountain-Splitting King exchanged a glance and nodded lightly. "Everyone, let us begin. The Divine Hall will serve as the spearhead, while the rest of the armies will protect the flanks." Zhang Lu Li's voice, though calm, held a fervor that surfaced in her otherwise composed eyes. She raised her slender white hand and swung it down with force. Boom! The Divine Hall's vast forces were the first to charge into the sky, their mighty battle intent spreading like an ocean, causing the very skies to shift. Whoosh! Whoosh! The massive army surged forward like a black cloud, and behind them, the forces of all sides followed in an orderly fashion, tightly trailing behind the Divine Hall's army. This immense allied force, with its astonishing momentum, made the very earth shake as it passed. Although their battle intents were distinct and separate, without blending, the sheer number of troops gathered together was terrifying. Chen, leading the army of the great Luo Heaven Domain, was positioned in the middle to rear of this colossal alliance. As he watched the grand force, his heart stirred in amazement. The black clouds formed by the army blotted out the sky and roared across the horizon, and mere minutes later, they charged into the dark plain. There, the decaying army with no visible end came into view. The rows of battle flags and the decaying battle intent that filled the sky made the forces on all sides grow tense. However, Zhang Lu Li, among the army, showed no fear at all. The intense fervor in her beautiful eyes only grew more apparent. Her clear voice rang out in every ear. "Charge!" The massive allied forces, with the army of the Divine Hall at its vanguard, in this moment, resembled an unmatched sharp dagger, ruthlessly charging directly into the defensive line of the decaying army. Two terrifying torrents collided with an earth-shattering impact at this very moment. The overwhelming battle will surged into the sky, shaking the very fabric of space itself. As the battle will surged, the earth cracked open. The first layer of the decaying army's defenses was instantly torn apart, and then the enormous allied forces, like a tidal wave, surged through the gap, charging in at lightning speed. Countless decaying warriors were reduced to ashes in an instant, vanishing without a trace. However, the massive allied forces did not pause for a moment. Instead, they tore through with even fiercer momentum, sweeping deep into the heart of the decaying army. Within the ranks of the allied forces, Chen couldn't help but take a deep breath at the terrifying clash of battle will. Such a spectacle was truly overwhelming. He looked towards the distant, slender white figure, and a solemn expression appeared on his face. This woman. They were born to fight, and even in death, their fervor for battle remained unquenched. In that moment, an immense wave of black battle intent, as vast as a tsunami, erupted from above the army. The entire world seemed to tremble under the weight of that terrifying battle intent. Rumble, rumble. The battle intent rippled like an ocean, and the very space seemed to creak under the pressure. Even Chen, Zhang Lu Li, Xiao Tian, and the others couldn't help but change their expressions in shock. Such terrifying battle intent! The leaders of the other forces exclaimed, their faces pale with fear. Such battle intent would likely entrap even a 7th-grade Supreme if they entered. Zhang Lu Li tightly gripped her jade-like hands, her beautiful eyes fixed on the massive army. Even someone as composed as her had a grave expression on her face. Whoosh. While they were still in shock, the immense battle intent above the four spirits' army changed once more. Black light began to spread out, eventually forming four massive square-shaped light barriers, each stretching tens of thousands of feet. The light barriers surrounded the four corners of the army, their surfaces etched with mysterious runes, all interconnected and emitting a strange and enigmatic energy wave. Mu Chen's gaze hardened as he observed the scene. He could see that within these massive light barriers, there appeared to be a hidden army. However, due to the pervasive battle intent, he couldn't make out any details. This must be the so-called for spirits battle formation, though it seemed that the formation had yet to fully activate. Mu Chen couldn't determine just how powerful it truly was. Gentlemen, what you see before you is the for spirits battle formation. If we manage to break it, the death ruins will collapse, and all these decaying armies will be purified. That will be our time to harvest, Zhang Tai Luli said with a smile, looking at everyone. Miss Zhang Tai, do you truly believe we can break this formation? One of the leaders couldn't help but ask. After witnessing the might of the four spirits battle formation, they too felt a sense of unease. Do we have any other choice? Zhang Tai Luli smiled. The four spirits battle formation is indeed formidable. However, you need not worry too much. After all, the warriors here are all dead, and this formation's power is significantly weakened. So we still have a chance of success. Of course, to break it, we will need the full cooperation of the Mu King and 5th Commander Xiao Tian, Zhang Tai Luli said, turning her gaze to Mu Chen and Xiao Tian. I'm eager to see just how powerful this so-called four spirits battle formation really is. Xiao Tian sneered, baring his teeth. Mu Chen glanced at Zhang Tai Luli, his eyes slightly flickering. What should we do, Miss Zhang Tai? Zhang Tai Luli turned to the other forces and asked, have you chosen the 3 commanders for the 4th formation? The other leaders nodded, and 3 sharp-eyed men stepped forward. These were the strongest commanders of their respective forces. Although their control over battle intent wasn't as formidable as that of Mu Chen and his group of battle geniuses, they were certainly not to be underestimated. Then let the 3 of you lead the charge against the 4th formation, Zhang Tai Luli said, nodding at the 4 men before turning her attention back to Mu Chen and the others. This time, when we breach the formation, only one army can enter at a time. The army's size is not limited, since the four spirits battle formation grows stronger against powerful forces. Fortunately, it's currently without a controller, so strong individuals with excessive spiritual fluctuations cannot enter, or else the formation will automatically amplify its power. Mu Chen was slightly taken aback, then glanced at the others. As Zhang Tai Luli mentioned, those with powerful spiritual fluctuations, like Nine Nether and the Mountain-Splitting King, couldn't enter this time. The Mountain-Splitting King and the others exchanged glances, then nodded after a brief moment of contemplation. The Mountain-Splitting King spoke, if needed, the forces under my command are at your disposal, Mu King. But do be cautious. Mu Chen nodded slightly, cupping his hands in gratitude. Any objections? Zhang Tai Luli asked with a smile. Everyone shook their heads. Then let's prepare to move out. I hope we can break the formation together, Zhang Tai Luli said with a gentle smile. As soon as she finished speaking, she turned around, preparing to lead the Divine Hall's army into the formation. Wait. However, just as Zhang Tai Luli was about to move, a voice suddenly rang out. Everyone froze, their gazes shifting, and they saw Xiao Tian staring at Zhang Tai Luli with a smile that wasn't quite a smile. Zhang Tai Luli furrowed her brows slightly as she looked at Xiao Tian, clearly displeased. What do you mean by that? Lady Zhang Tai has contributed so much intelligence, and if we still let you take the lead in the formation, we would be going too far. So, I think I'll take the first step into the formation, Xiao Tian grinned. Mu Chen's gaze flickered upon hearing this, a hint of suspicion forming in his mind about Xiao Tian's true thoughts regarding Zhang Tai Luli. Zhang Tai Luli's delicate face darkened. Are you unwilling, Lady Zhang Tai? Or is there something we don't know? Xiao Tian asked with a chuckle. The surrounding gazes shifted toward Luli, filled with doubt. After all, she had always been the one leading this operation, and it was hard for them not to wonder whether she had shared all the information she knew. Under the watchful eyes of the crowd, Zhang Tai Luli pursed her red lips before offering a faint smile. Since Commander Xiao Tian is so courageous, then I'll leave it to you. Since Commander Xiao Tian is so courageous, then I'll leave it to you. Zhang Tai Luli said indifferently. Although her expression remained calm, those present could feel the coldness underlying her words. Well then, let me be the first to test just how powerful this four-spirit battle formation truly is. Xiao Tian, unfazed by Zhang Tailuli's coldness, grinned, then exchanged a glance with Liu Yin. With a sudden wave of his hand. Boom. At the moment Xiao Tian's hand fell, an overwhelming battle intent surged from the rear of the massive allied forces. Everyone then saw a large army rise into the sky, belonging to Xiao Tian's direct forces, the Xun'er division. The Xun'er division numbered around 15,000. In terms of sheer numbers, even Mu Qin's own mountain-splitting legion, which boasted the largest force on their side, couldn't compare. However, just as everyone thought Xiao Tian would only lead the Xun'er division into the formation, he smiled faintly, cast a cold glance at Mu Qin, and waved his hand once more. Boom. Another terrifying battle intent exploded, causing the various factions to glance over in shock. To their astonishment, a second army, about 10,000 strong, appeared to the side of the Xun'er division. This was another army belonging to the Xun'er palace, though it wasn't directly under Xiao Tian's command. But from the way he was acting, it was clear that he intended to lead both armies into the four-spirit battle formation. His actions sent shockwaves through the onlookers. Whispers began to spread among the crowd. Xiao Tian can actually control two armies at once? So this is his trump card. If he had used this against Mu Qin earlier, I doubt Mu Qin would have gotten the upper hand. Xiao Tian is indeed formidable. Hearing the whispers, Xiao Tian's gaze lingered on Mu Qin for a moment, a sinister smile curling on his lips. This backup army was indeed his ace, and had it not been for the cost of mobilizing its battle intent, he would have used it earlier to crush Mu Qin. After all, without it, Mu Qin wouldn't have had the chance to show off in front of him. Mu Qin sensed the chilling look from Xiao Tian. However, he didn't pay it much attention. His eyes lowered slightly, but a hint of surprise flickered in his gaze. It seemed that Xiao Tian's move had caught him off guard. He could feel that although this backup army was not as elite as the Xun'er division, it was by no means weak. More importantly, this backup army had a high level of synergy with Xiao Tian. This meant that Xiao Tian and this army had been trained and honed together for a long time. Mu Qin couldn't help but sigh inwardly. After all, he had only recently arrived in the Great Luo Heaven domain, and his preparations were no match for Xiao Tian, who had been operating within the Xun'er palace for years. However, while Xiao Tian's backup army had surprised Mu Qin, it was nothing more than that. With that thought, a sharp glint flickered in Mu Qin's slightly lowered eyes. Xiao Tian's figure moved, directly appearing in front of the two massive armies. He gazed down at everyone, sensing the fear and wariness in their eyes. The smile at the corner of his mouth became more pronounced. Without hesitation, he suddenly swung his hand down, his commanding voice echoing. "Break through the formation with me." "Yes." The army of tens of thousands roared in unison, the sound booming like thunder, shaking the earth. Their fierce battle will surge forth like a storm. Zhang Tailuli calmly watched the imposing military force behind Xiao Tian. Then, her beautiful eyes turned towards Mu Qin as she spoke. "Mu King, if you're worried, you can enter the formation before me." Mu Qin smiled upon hearing this. "I trust Miss Zhang Tai, so please go ahead." Though he had some doubts about Zhang Tailuli, with Xiao Tian leading the charge, he saw no need to intervene further. Zhang Tailuli gazed deeply at the smiling Mu Qin before nodding slightly. She then turned her face, her eyes sweeping over Xiao Tian and his massive army. Her lips lifted slightly, revealing a hint of a mocking smile. However, the smile quickly vanished, unnoticed by everyone except Mu Qin, who had always been cautious of her. From the corner of his eye, he caught a glimpse of it, and a chill ran through his heart. Zhang Tailuli raised her jade hand, giving a gentle wave, her clear voice ringing out across the plains. "Liuli army, heed my command." "Yes." The low, thunderous reply resounded, shaking the hearts of countless powerful warriors. They suddenly looked up to see a dazzling cloud drifting out from the vast allied forces, hovering in the sky. This was no ordinary cloud, but a massive army. They wore crystalline armor, as if forged from glass, radiating a strange aura. This army. When the army appeared, even Mu Qin's pupils contracted sharply, for he realized that this army numbered a staggering 30,000. Moreover, this was clearly a unified army, as the battle intent emanating from them was identical. This Zhang Tailuli has hidden her forces well. Mu Qin's heart was shaken. When the allied forces had first entered, he had observed the Divine Hall's army but had never detected this Liuli army. Clearly, Zhang Tailuli had intentionally concealed them, blending them with the other forces of the Divine Hall. This 30,000-strong army quickly suppressed the momentum of Xiao Tian's side. Xiao Tian's expression darkened as he watched this scene. After a long moment, he finally smiled faintly and said, "A 30,000-man army. Miss Shantai, you should be careful. Don't push too hard, or the violent battle intent might overwhelm your will." Controlling battle intent was not as easy as it seemed. Within the vast battle intent, countless warriors' spiritual energy and willpower were contained, and the controller needed an immense force of will to command it. If the will was insufficient, the destructive battle intent could destroy one's mind, leaving them in a state akin to madness. This was why even in powerful armies like the Mountain-Splitting Legion under the Mountain-Splitting King, many commanders were assigned specific duties, for no one dared to control the entire Mountain-Splitting Legion with a single will. "That won't be necessary, Lord Xiaotian." Zhang Tailuli responded calmly, then her beautiful eyes turned to Mu Chen. "Mu King, the Four Spirits battle formation isn't easy to break through. Your Nine Nethers Guard might struggle." Her words were not meant as mockery, but a straightforward observation. The Nine Nethers Guard of the Nine Nether Palace numbered only 5,000, which was nothing compared to Zhang Tailuli's Liuli army. Even Xiaotian's Profound Heaven Division had 3 times that number. Clearly, Mu Chen's 5,009 Nethers Guards were not the type of super warriors capable of overwhelming enemies single-handedly. Therefore, if he only relied on the 9 Nethers Guard to break through, no matter how capable he was, it would be impossible. Mu Chen smiled kindly at Zhang Tailuli upon hearing this. He then turned his gaze to the Mountain-Splitting King, the Blood Eagle King, and the others. "If Mu King needs assistance, we can mobilize our armies. As long as you can control them," the Mountain-Splitting King and the others immediately said without hesitation when they noticed Mu Chen's gaze. "Thank you, everyone." Mu Chen cupped his fists in gratitude. After a brief pause, his handsome face broke into a radiant smile, and he said, "Then I'll borrow the 4 armies." "For armies?" The smiles on the faces of the Mountain-Splitting King and the others seemed to freeze at that moment. Even the leaders of nearby factions widened their eyes, staring at Mu Chen with a look of shock, as if seeing a ghost. It wasn't just them. Even Nine Nether looked at Mu Chen with astonishment. She never expected that Mu Chen would borrow all 4 armies at once. If you added the 9 Nether Guard into the mix, Mu Chen would be controlling 5 armies. These were 5 armies, each with distinct battle will. When combined, their numbers exceeded 30,000. To control them all? That would be no easy feat. Zhang Tailuli's delicate face also showed a hint of surprise. After a moment, she regained her composure, giving Mu Chen a deep glance without saying anything further. "You arrogant little brat." Xiaotian coldly sneered. In his eyes, Mu Chen was just trying to show off in front of him, borrowing other armies from the Great Luo Heaven domain to appear strong. Such an army, if not properly controlled, would turn chaotic. Mu Chen might not even need to break through the formation. He might just be crushed by the overwhelming battle will, turning into a fool. Mu King, the Mountain-Splitting King, and the others snapped out of their shock, their eyes still trembling as they looked at Mu Chen. However, when they saw his calm face, they realized he wasn't joking. The Mountain-Splitting King and the others exchanged glances, gritted their teeth, and finally said, "Since you're so confident, we'll entrust the armies to you." At this moment, they had no choice but to believe that Mu Chen really had the ability to control 5 armies, each with different battle wills. Mu Chen didn't pay attention to the shocked stares around him. He merely cupped his fist respectfully toward the Mountain-Splitting King and the others, then spoke in a deep voice, "Thank you." He didn't say more, instead focusing his gaze on the direction where the Great Luo Heaven Domain's armies were stationed. He waved his hand gently. Boom. 5 armies of varying sizes surged into the sky, their grand and imposing presence even more powerful than the Profound Heaven Division in the Liuli army. After all, these were 5 entire armies. Mu Chen moved swiftly, appearing before the 5 armies. Ignoring the astonished gazes, he directly looked at Xiaotian, gestured with his hand, and smiled faintly. "5th Commander Xiaotian, after you." Deep in the dark plain, several massive armies stood tall in the sky, their boundless battle will surging out, causing the very space around them to twist and distort. These were the armies led by Mu Chen, Zhang Tailuli, and Xiaotian. Once the 3 of them had summoned their armies, the other 3 commanders also led their strongest forces. The battle will fill the air as it spread across the heavens and the earth. Xiaotian stood at the front of the Profound Heaven Division, his gaze looking down at everyone. Then, he cast a cold, sneering glance at Mu Chen. When he saw the 5 massive armies behind Mu Chen, the corners of his mouth curled into a mocking smile. To him, Mu Chen's actions were foolish. He must have realized that relying solely on the small 9 Nether Guard wouldn't be enough to break through the formation, so he decided to pull in other armies, using their numbers to boost his chances. "I hope you don't drag us down," Xiao Tian sneered at Mu Chen. "If we fail because of you, the cost of our failure will be on the Great Luo Heaven Domain." Xiao Tian's words were clearly malicious. If the formation was breached, he would place the blame on Mu Chen, inciting dissatisfaction with the Great Luo Heaven Domain among the other factions. However, Mu Chen only gave him a cold glance and said indifferently, "I'll return your words, 5th Commander Xiao Tian. You'd better watch out, or you might end up shooting yourself in the foot. Both of you should stop arguing. For now, we need to cooperate and break through the formation." Zhang Tailuli interrupted the tense exchange, casting a light glance at Xiao Tian. "Profound Heaven Division, follow me." Xiao Tian shot a final glance at Mu Chen and Zhang Tailuli, saying no more. With a cold command, he waved his sleeve and shot forward. His massive army followed closely, charging toward the Four Spirits battle formation shrouded in black light. "Let's go." Zhang Tailuli looked at Xiao Tian's retreating figure, then gave a soft command. Her wheelchair glided forward as her Liuli army, sparkling with radiant light, seemed to transform into a vast crystal ocean. "I'll be leaving now." Mu Chen looked towards Nine Nether, the mountain-splitting king, and the others, speaking in a low voice. "Be careful." Nine Nether paused briefly, then clenched her silver teeth and said, "If you can't break the formation, then preserve yourself. There's no need to force your way through the death ruins." Clearly, Nine Nether was aware of the terrifying power of the Four Spirit battle formation. She seemed to worry whether Mu Chen could truly control the 5 armies. If he pushed himself too hard, the consequences could be severe. Sensing the concern in Nine Nether's words, Mu Chen smiled and nodded at her. He didn't offer any comforting words because he knew very well that breaking through the formation would not be easy. "I will do my best." Mu Chen spoke softly, then without hesitation, his figure shot forward. Behind him, the 5 vast armies quickly followed. The sound of wind ripping through the air echoed across the sky. Following Mu Chen were the joint forces led by the other 3 commanders, though their momentum, when compared to Mu Chen's, was clearly on a different level. Under the gaze of countless onlookers, the vast army appeared before the Four Spirit battle formation. Xiao Tian stared at the spreading black light, hesitating for a moment, then gritted his teeth and charged forward. As they entered the black light, their figures immediately disappeared, as if swallowed by the darkness. Whoosh! Whoosh! Following Xiao Tian, Zhang Tailuli and her Liuli army also charged forward without hesitation. Behind them, Mu Chen and the others followed suit, charging straight in. The black light barrier seemed like an endless black hole, devouring the entire army that entered it without a ripple. The sight sent a chill through the hearts of all the forces watching. They've entered the Four Spirit battle formation. However, the oppressive blackness didn't last long. Suddenly, a startled cry rang out, and everyone saw that, high above the Four Spirit army, within the 4 massive black light arrays, bright beams of light erupted. As the light faded, the 4 massive armies appeared within the black formations. Roar! As the 4 armies emerged, everyone heard a low, rumbling roar from the Four Spirit army soldiers, who stood like statues. The sound resonated so deeply that it sent ripples through the very space around them. Buzz! The black battle intent surged forth like a storm. The overwhelming battle will seemed like a gigantic wave, causing even the heavens and earth to tremble under its force. All the forces were stunned, staring at the Four Spirit army, now suddenly enraged. After a long pause, they took a deep breath, their expressions growing solemn. They knew the Four Spirit battle formation had truly been activated. The question now was whether the combined efforts of the 3 battle-will geniuses could truly break the formation. Meanwhile, under the watchful eyes of external forces, Mu Chen was also assessing his unfamiliar surroundings. They seemed to be in a space shrouded in darkness. The oppressive blackness was so thick, it was almost suffocating. Although the outside forces could clearly see Mu Chen and his group inside the formation, they, however, could not project their vision outward. Despite the visual obstruction, Mu Chen could guess the reason and remained calm. He turned his head to glance at the 5 armies behind him. The soldiers of the 5 armies were not panicking either. Their focus was entirely on Mu Chen. For an army, the general was the core. As long as Mu Chen remained unharmed, the army would maintain its morale and fighting power. With the 5 armies behind him, Mu Chen felt a sense of reassurance. With these forces at his command, even someone of the mountain-splitting king's level of power would not faze him. Let's see just how terrifying this force-spirit battle formation really is. Mu Chen muttered to himself, staring into the dark space around him. Boom. Just as Mu Chen finished speaking, the dark space seemed to tremble. His eyes narrowed sharply as he saw the black battle intent surging from the darkness. The battle intent spread, sweeping across the dark space like an endless ocean. Within this sea of battle intent, violent waves surged, wild and chaotic. As Mu Chen remained vigilant, a faint ancient voice began to echo in the dark space. The Four Spirits battle formation uses the battle will to transform into the four symbol spirits. The formations are divided into Azure Dragon Formation, White Tiger Formation, Black Tortoise Formation, and Vermilion Bird Formation. The Azure Dragon Formation is the strongest, so the first one to enter will face it. The second will enter the White Tiger Formation, and so on. The four formations must be activated simultaneously, and the first to break through will pass the test and meet the Heavenly Formation Emperor. The ancient voice reverberated through the darkness, leaving Mu Chen in astonishment. His expression then became strange, as he hadn't anticipated that the Four Spirits battle formation would assign formations based on the order of entry. He was the third to enter, so he must have been placed in the Black Tortoise Formation. Zhang Lu Li had entered the White Tiger Formation, so Xiao Tian must have been placed in the strongest Azure Dragon Formation. Realizing this, Mu Chen's mouth twitched. He now understood why Zhang Lu Li had acted the way she did earlier. It was all part of her plan. She hadn't intended to be the first to enter because that would mean facing the powerful Azure Dragon Formation. But she couldn't reveal this information, or no one would choose to enter first. So, she deliberately exposed a few flaws, causing Mu Chen and Xiao Tian to doubt her. In the end, this led to the situation where others opposed Zhang Lu Li. For example, Zhang Lu Li had appeared eager to enter the formation first, only for Xiao Tian to be more suspicious and stop her, trying to take her place. Now, Mu Chen had been assigned to the Azure Dragon Formation. What a brilliant woman! Mu Chen muttered under his breath. The Four Spirits battle formation was not as she had described. It didn't require all four formations to be broken simultaneously to succeed. Instead, as long as one broke through their assigned formation the fastest, they could escape and obtain the Heavenly Formation Emperor's legacy. Mu Chen clicked his tongue. It turned out they had been deceived by Zhang Lu Li from the start. She had concealed some critical information, using them all to her advantage. Thinking of Zhang Lu Li's seemingly fragile appearance, Mu Chen couldn't help but shake his head. Indeed, one shouldn't judge by appearances. Although he had suspected her, he hadn't expected her to play them all so thoroughly. At this point, Mu Chen wasn't angry. The one who should be furious was Xiao Tian, who had been assigned to the Azure Dragon Formation. Being placed in the strongest formation, it would be nearly impossible for him to break through before the others. At best, he would be lucky to survive. From one perspective, Xiao Tian had already lost his chance at the Heavenly Formation Emperor's legacy. Mu Chen couldn't help but feel a bit of schadenfreude. He had no fondness for Xiao Tian, so seeing him fall into Zhang Lu Li's trap brought him some amusement. What a doomed guy, Mu Chen muttered with a smirk. Meanwhile, in another dark battle formation, after the ancient voice faded, Xiao Tian's face turned a deep shade of iron, and he couldn't hold back his roar of fury. Zhang Lu Li, you'll pay for this. Boom. With Xiao Tian's furious roar, the Four Spirits battle formation activated, and a chilling murderous intent surged from within. The Four Spirits battle formation had finally begun. Boom. The entire dark space trembled, and the vast black battle will seeped out like a black ocean, flooding the area and filling the dark expanse. Mu Chen's gaze grew serious as he watched the space before him. The black battle will had transformed into an endless ocean, with towering waves crashing, and within it, faint, endless howls of fury could be heard. A tremendous pressure emanated from this black sea of battle will. Now that the Four Spirits battle formation was truly activated, the vicious side of this space would soon reveal itself. Mu Chen glanced behind him, then gently waved his hand. Boom. As his gesture fell, the Nine Nethers Guard and Blood Eagle Guard erupted with their battle will almost simultaneously. Two powerful waves of battle will spread out, and gathered behind Mu Chen. After activating the battle will of both armies, Mu Chen focused his gaze on the vast black sea of battle will ahead. Splash! As Mu Chen remained on guard, a sound like splashing water emerged from the vast black ocean of battle intent. Then, Mu Chen saw towering waves rising from the sea of battle intent. Amidst the waves, a massive shadow seemed to loom, shrouding the area. Hiss! A strange roar suddenly echoed from within the waves, shaking the space around it. The overwhelming pressure intensified, and even Mu Chen's breath faltered for a moment. It's coming. Mu Chen's body tensed, his palms clenched tightly. Boom! The towering waves finally crashed down, splashing a torrent of battle intent. Amidst the raging waves, a gigantic black tortoise slowly emerged. The black tortoise was enormous, its shell fierce and imposing. Its serpent-like tail coiled behind it, and its forked tongue hissed in and out. Dark battle runes covered its massive body, and terrifying waves of battle intent emanated from it, as though it could devour heaven and earth itself. It was an incredibly terrifying sight. This is the battle spirit of the Black Tortoise formation. Mu Chen's heart trembled as he gazed at the massive beast that emerged from the black sea of battle intent. His expression grew exceedingly serious. He could feel the terrifying intensity of the battle intent radiating from the Black Tortoise battle spirit. Facing such a battle spirit, even the peak powers of six-star supremes like Mountain Splitting King would feel the pressure. Roar! The Black Tortoise battle spirit moved with the weight of a mountain, its four legs treading upon the ocean of battle intent. Its ominous eyes turned to Mu Chen, and it roared with its giant mouth, sending shockwaves through the air that stirred fierce winds. Boom! The Black Tortoise battle spirit showed no sign of hesitation. Its enormous body was covered in flickering battle runes, and as its battle intent surged, a black beam of battle intent condensed in its mouth. In the next instant, the colossal black beam shot through the air, piercing the void and blasting straight toward Mu Chen and the army behind him. As the black battle intent beam streaked across, the very fabric of space trembled, sending visible ripples through the air. The Black Tortoise battle spirit showed no mercy in its attack. Even a six-star supreme would be hard-pressed to withstand such an assault. Mu Chen's face turned serious as he saw the terrifying attack coming his way. He wasted no time and stomped his foot. In an instant, the overwhelming battle intent from his Nine Nethers Guard and Blood Eagle Guard surged forward. Screech! A sharp, piercing cry rang out as the Nine Nether Sparrow battle spirit and the Blood Eagle battle spirit appeared above their respective armies. The two battle spirits flapped their massive wings, sending out two giant streams of battle intent that clashed directly with the black battle intent beam. The impact was as fast as lightning. Boom! At the moment of collision, an immense shockwave erupted. Mu Chen's body was thrown backward by the force, but he immediately released his spiritual energy to counteract the blast. Behind him, the Nine Nether Sparrow battle spirit and the Blood Eagle battle spirit were also pushed back, and soldiers from both armies groaned, their faces pale from the impact. Mu Chen's expression grew darker. He hadn't expected that a simple clash would result in such a heavy suppression. The Black Tortoise formation's battle spirit was indeed formidable. Single-handedly, it had countered his two battle spirits, and it still held the upper hand. This is the power of a battle formation. Mu Chen pressed his lips together. He could clearly feel that, in the earlier clash of battle intent, the Black Tortoise battle spirit's battle intent was far more cohesive and far more aggressive. Battle intent, it seemed, had different levels, and the Black Tortoise battle spirit's battle intent was clearly far superior to that of the Nine Nethers Guard or the Blood Eagle Guard. This superiority came from the power of the formation, which made the battle intent much stronger. Had Mu Chen only relied on the Nine Nethers Guard's battle intent to resist, the casualties on his side would likely have been severe. The disparity between them was just too great. Mu Chen's dark eyes fixed on the towering Black Tortoise battle spirit in the black sea of battle intent. His palms slowly clenched tighter. Although he had already sensed its terrifying power, it did not make him feel fearful. Perhaps, during his confrontation with the Black Tortoise battle spirit, he could use this opportunity to feel for himself how the battle will enhanced by the battle formation differs from ordinary battle will. It's possible that, Through this experience, he might find the key to becoming a battle formation master. As Mu Chen's gaze began to intensify, outside, in the Nine Nether, the mountain-splitting king, along with others, were watching through the black light screen as Mu Chen clashed with the terrifying Black Tortoise battle spirit. When they saw Mu Chen, who had already controlled the Nine Nether's guard and the Blood Eagle guard, and had even refined them into battle spirits to fight, being completely suppressed by the Black Tortoise battle spirit in the first round of their encounter, their expressions grew heavy. The battle spirit refined from the battle formation isn't easy to deal with, Mountain-Splitting King said in a deep voice. He knew just how powerful Mu Chen was with the battle spirits of two armies backing him. In that state, Mu Chen could rival a 6th grade supreme. But now he was being forced into a corner by the Black Tortoise battle spirit. This showed just how formidable it truly was. Do you think Mu Chen will be okay? Spirit Sword King couldn't help but ask, his concern genuine. Yet, he also worried about his Spirit Sword servant, whom he had painstakingly cultivated for years. If the entire army were wiped out here, there would be nowhere to grieve. Although Nine Nether's cold, elegant face showed signs of worry, she still had significant faith in Mu Chen. Despite the current unfavorable situation, she believed Mu Chen would find a way through. Don't worry too much. Mu Chen must have some trump card up his sleeve. Otherwise, he wouldn't have rashly brought all 5 armies into this battle. Nine Nether said. Could Mu Chen really control 5 armies with different battle wills? Mountain-Splitting King hesitated and couldn't help but ask. If that were true, how much terrifying battle will talent would he need to accomplish such a feat? Its enormous body was covered in flickering battle runes, and as its battle intent surged, a black beam of battle intent condensed in its mouth. In the next instant, the colossal black beam shot through the air, piercing the void and blasting straight toward Mu Chen and the army behind him. As the black battle intent beam streaked across, the very fabric of space trembled, sending visible ripples through the air. The Black Tortoise battle spirit showed no mercy in its attack. Even a 6-star supreme would be hard-pressed to withstand such an assault. Mu Chen's face turned serious as he saw the terrifying attack coming his way. He wasted no time and stomped his foot. In an instant, the overwhelming battle intent from his Nine Nether's guard and Blood Eagle guard surged forward. Screech! A sharp, piercing cry rang out as the Nine Nether Sparrow battle spirit and the Blood Eagle battle spirit appeared above their respective armies. The 2 battle spirits flapped their massive wings, sending out 2 giant streams of battle intent that clashed directly with the black battle intent beam. The impact was as fast as lightning. Boom! At the moment of collision, an immense shockwave erupted. Mu Chen's body was thrown backward by the force, but he immediately released his spiritual energy to counteract the blast. Behind him, the Nine Nether Sparrow battle spirit and the Blood Eagle battle spirit were also pushed back, and soldiers from both armies groaned, their faces pale from the impact. Mu Chen's expression grew darker. He hadn't expected that a simple clash would result in such a heavy suppression. The Black Tortoise formation's battle spirit was indeed formidable. Single-handedly, it had countered his 2 battle spirits, and it still held the upper hand. This is the power of a battle formation. Mu Chen pressed his lips together. He could clearly feel that, in the earlier clash of battle intent, the Black Tortoise battle spirit's battle intent was far more cohesive and far more aggressive. Battle intent, it seemed, had different levels, and the Black Tortoise battle spirit's battle intent was clearly far superior to that of the Nine Nether's guard or the Blood Eagle guard. This superiority came from the power of the formation, which made the battle intent much stronger. Had Mu Chen only relied on the Nine Nether's guard's battle intent to resist, the casualties on his side would likely have been severe. The disparity between them was just too great. Mu Chen's dark eyes fixed on the towering Black Tortoise battle spirit in the black sea of battle intent. His palms slowly clenched tighter. Although he had already sensed its terrifying power, it did not make him feel fearful. Perhaps, during his confrontation with the Black Tortoise battle spirit, he could use this opportunity to feel for himself how the battle will enhanced by the battle formation differs from ordinary battle will. It's possible that, through this experience, he might find the key to becoming a battle formation master. As Mu Chen's gaze began to intensify, outside, in the Nine Nether, the mountain-splitting king, along with others, were watching through the black light screen as Chen clashed with the terrifying Black Tortoise battle spirit. When they saw Chen, who had already controlled the 9 Nethers Guard and the Blood Eagle Guard, and had even refined them into battle spirits to fight, being completely suppressed by the Black Tortoise battle spirit in the first round of their encounter, their expressions grew heavy. The battle spirit refined from the battle formation isn't easy to deal with, Mountain Splitting King said in a deep voice. He knew just how powerful Chen was with the battle spirits of 2 armies backing him. In that state, Chen could rival a 6th grade supreme. But now he was being forced into a corner by the Black Tortoise battle spirit. This showed just how formidable it truly was. Do you think Chen will be okay? Spirit Sword King couldn't help but ask, his concern genuine. Yet, he also worried about his Spirit Sword servant, whom he had painstakingly cultivated for years. If the entire army were wiped out here, there would be nowhere to grieve. Although 9 Nethers' cold, elegant face showed signs of worry, she still had significant faith in Chen. Despite the current unfavorable situation, she believed Chen would find a way through. Don't worry too much. Chen must have some trump card up his sleeve. Otherwise, he wouldn't have rashly brought all 5 armies into this battle. 9 Nethers said. Could Chen really control 5 armies with different battle wills? Mountain Splitting King hesitated and couldn't help but ask. If that were true, how much terrifying battle will talent would he need to accomplish such a feat?